At 9 o'clock in the morning, she had 3 tabs open. One for a training program, one for a resignation letter, and one for a job she was afraid to apply for. By 9:45, she had closed all 3. Nothing was wrong with her intelligence. Nothing was wrong with her ambition. She was simply trying to make one decision carry the weight of her entire future. What if the next step does not have to be a decision? What if it can be a small experiment instead?
Welcome to the Self-Care Cafe podcast. I'm your hostess, Pami Parker. Here at the cafe, we take a gentle pause from the busyness of life and gather around conversations that nourish the heart, the mind, and the spirit. On today's menu, we're serving a little reflection, a little wisdom, and a few thoughtful insights to support you as you navigate life's transitions and reconnect with what matters most. So settle in, take a breath, and let's begin. My argument today is simple. When you are in transition, more thinking does not always create more clarity. Bounded experience often does. That means you do not have to answer, "What should I do with my life?" before you take your next step. You might ask, "What can I gently try for a limited amount of time so I can learn something real?" I call that a trial day. It does not have to last a whole day. It could be 15 minutes, one conversation, one morning, or one carefully chosen afternoon.
A trial is different from making a permanent commitment. You are not signing away your future because you attended a class. You are not becoming a different person because you tried a new routine. You are not promising to change careers because you spoke with someone whose work interests you. You are spending a small amount of time with a possibility and paying attention to what you discover. That distinction matters, especially when a familiar chapter has ended. A role may have changed. A relationship may have ended. Your children may need you differently. Your health, energy, or priorities may no longer fit the life you once organized so carefully. And there can be grief inside a change we wanted. You can feel relieved and still miss the old rhythm. You can be grateful for an opening and still feel frightened by the empty space around it. When that happens, perfectionism often steps in. It says, "Make this count. Find the best answer. Do not waste another year." That voice may sound responsible, but it can leave you frozen. You are asking an abstract question about the future without enough lived information to answer it. Of course your mind keeps circling. A small experiment gives your mind something kinder to work with. Instead of imagining an entire profession, try one introductory conversation. Instead of promising yourself a complete creative identity, spend 20 minutes making something. Instead of deciding that you need a whole new social life, invite one person for a walk. The question becomes more manageable. What part of this possibility can I experience safely and honestly? Not everything can be tested this way. A trial cannot replace careful planning around finances, health, housing, or major relationship decisions. But even in a serious transition, a small conversation or a little research may help you understand what support and information you need next. So, how do you design one? Start with one possibility, stated in ordinary language. Not, "I need to reinvent myself." Try, "I am curious about teaching," or "I wonder whether a quieter morning would help me feel more present." Then connect it to a value. Maybe the value is creativity, contribution, learning, steadiness, freedom, connection, or rest. The value keeps the experiment connected to something that matters, rather than turning it into another achievement to collect. Next, make it small enough for your actual life. This is where many plans become unrealistic. We imagine the version that requires abundant time, money, energy, transportation, and confidence. Then we conclude that exploration is not available to us. But perhaps your version is a library visit instead of a paid course, a phone call instead of a networking event, a free online introduction viewed from home, a quiet morning with your phone set aside,
A 10-minute walk to notice what your body and mind are asking for. The experiment should fit your capacity. If you are exhausted or grieving, rest may be the most honest place to begin. Protecting 1 hour without turning it into a productivity project is a real experiment in listening. Give the experiment 3 boundaries. What are you trying? When will it begin and end? What do you hope to learn? For example, I am curious about community work. On Thursday, I will spend 30 minutes reading about one local opportunity. I hope to learn whether the mission interests me and what kind of schedule it would require. That is very different from, I need to figure out my entire purpose. One is a doorway, the other is a mountain. During the experiment, do not grade yourself. You may feel awkward. You may lose focus. You may discover that you like the idea, but not the setting. You may feel tired afterward. Let the day be data, not a performance review. Notice your energy, your body, your attention, and your emotions. Did you feel more open or more contracted? Did you become absorbed? Did you feel relief when it ended? Did you feel a quiet wish to return? None of these responses is a final verdict. They are clues that deserve context. Resistance can be especially confusing. Sometimes it means, this is not for me. Sometimes it means, this is new and I need a slower introduction. Sometimes it means, I am afraid of being seen trying. Those messages can feel almost identical at first. So do not force yourself through intense distress to prove that you are brave. Pause. Make the experiment smaller. Ask for support. If something touches a painful or overwhelming place, care comes before curiosity. The goal is self-knowledge, not self-abandonment. Let me make this concrete with one story. Imagine Elena, who has spent years working in a role that looks stable from the outside, but leaves her feeling increasingly distant from herself. She assumes her options are dramatic: resign, retrain, and start over, or stay exactly where she is. At first, even researching programs feels overwhelming, so she chooses a smaller question. What part of this new field actually interests me? Her trial is one free introductory session and a short conversation with someone who does the work. She gives herself 45 minutes, not a new identity. During the session, Elena feels interested, but also tense. Her first thought is, this proves I cannot do it. She nearly stops there. Instead, she writes down what she noticed. The subject held her attention. The presentation moved too quickly. She felt nervous imagining herself as a beginner. She liked the work more than she liked the idea of being evaluated. That is not failure. It is a more useful picture. Her next experiment is not to enroll in a program. It is to find a slower introduction and ask one honest question about how beginners are supported. That is the power of a bounded experiment. It turns a frightening question into several smaller, answerable ones. What exactly interests me? What conditions help me participate? What kind of support would make this possible? Am I drawn to the activity itself or to the story I have attached to it? And sometimes the answer is no. You may try something and realize it does not fit your values, your capacity, or this season of your life. That is valuable too. Stopping can be an act of discernment, not a lack of courage. Afterward, give yourself a little space before interpreting everything. Drink some water. Take a walk. Let your nervous system settle. If the experience was emotionally full, sleep on it. Then ask 3 simple questions. What did I learn? What surprised me? And what deserves another small try? You might learn that you want connection, but not a crowded room. You might discover that you enjoy writing for 20 minutes, not 2 hours. You might expect fear and find relief, or expect excitement and find grief. Those details are not distractions from clarity. They are how clarity is gathered. You do not have to decide what the result means forever. You can repeat the experiment with one condition changed. You can ask someone trustworthy for perspective. You can wait. You can choose another small direction. And if you do not have the energy to try anything right now, that is not a moral failure. Sometimes the honest information is, I need support before I need a plan. Sometimes the next chapter begins with sleep, medical care, counseling, practical help, or simply less pressure. A trial is an invitation, never a demand.
So, if you have a little room this week, name one possibility. Keep it specific, make it reversible, give it a beginning and an ending. Connect it to something you value. Decide what you hope to learn rather than what you hope to prove. Then meet yourself there as a companion, not as a manager inspecting an employee, not as a judge waiting for evidence, as someone learning the landscape of a changing life. You do not have to make a permanent commitment to honor a temporary curiosity. You do not have to know the whole path to take one kind step. The next chapter may not announce itself with certainty. It may arrive as a small spark of interest, a little more energy, a useful no, or the realization that you need a slower pace. Let your experience teach you. Let your questions become more specific. Let your future be shaped by honest information instead of pressure to perform certainty. If this conversation offered you a helpful pause, visit the Self-Care Cafe website for the reflection worksheet and more gentle tools for navigating life's transitions. You can also share this episode with someone who may be standing at the edge of her own next chapter. Thank you for listening. Come as you are. Leave nourished.